You know what it feels like when your entire world shatters in a single moment? My name is Thomas Jensen, and I'm 34 years old. I'm a Marine Staff Sergeant who survived 6 months of combat in Kandahar Province, IEDs, firefights, watching brothers die. I came home early to surprise my wife Angela and our 4-year-old daughter Emma. I imagined Angela's face lighting up, Emma jumping into my arms. Instead, I walked into my own bedroom and found Angela in bed with 2 men, Jeffrey and Dustin, 2 strangers violating everything I'd fought to protect. The rage that hit me wasn't the kind that makes you yell and storm out. It was cold, calculated, the same focus I used in combat. What I did next wasn't just revenge, it was justice. It was taking back control from people who thought they could destroy a Marine's family and walk away untouched. Angela, Jeffrey, and Dustin made their choices. I made sure they faced real, lasting consequences. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with everything, you'll understand why I did what I did, and you'll understand why I have 0 regrets. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I'd been deployed for 6 months in one of the hottest zones you can imagine, Kandahar Province, IEDs, firefights, watching brothers die. I was a staff sergeant, leading men half my age through hell. Every night I'd think about Angela and our 4-year-old daughter Emma. That thought kept me alive. That hope kept me pushing forward when the temperature hit 120 and we were clearing houses block by block, never knowing if the next door hid an ambush or a family just trying to survive. I remembered the smell of Emma's hair when I'd hold her before deployment, strawberry shampoo and that clean kid smell that somehow cut through everything else. I'd replay that memory during the worst moments, when the mortars were falling and all you could do was press yourself into whatever cover you found and pray. My unit got orders to rotate home 2 weeks early, some logistical miracle. I didn't tell Angela. I wanted to surprise her. I imagined her face lighting up, Emma jumping into my arms. I'd been dreaming about that moment for months. I caught a transport from Kandahar to Ramstein, then a commercial flight to San Diego. 29 hours of travel, but I was running on pure adrenaline. I grabbed an Uber from the airport to our house in Oceanside, a modest 3-bedroom we'd bought right after Emma was born. It was 11 p.m. on a Thursday. The house was dark except for the upstairs bedroom light. I smiled. Angela always waited up late. I used my key, stepped inside quietly, dropped my duffel in the entryway. I could hear music upstairs, R&B. That was odd. Angela usually listened to country. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding with anticipation. Our bedroom door was half open. I pushed it wider, and my entire world detonated. Angela was in our bed, naked, with 2 men. One was on top of her, the other beside her. All 3 were so absorbed they didn't notice me for a solid 5 seconds. Then Angela's eyes locked onto mine. Her scream could have woken the dead. Both men jerked back, scrambling. Angela grabbed the sheet, her face white as chalk. "Thomas! Oh my God! Thomas, I didn't move, didn't blink. Every ounce of combat training kicked in. Assess, analyze, act. Get the fuck out of my bed," I said. My voice was flat, cold. The same tone I used giving orders under fire. The first guy, muscular, maybe 6'2", late 20s, started stammering. "Man, we didn't know. She said she was single. I don't give a shit what she said. You've got 30 seconds to get your clothes and get out of my house before I make this a crime scene." The second guy, smaller, wearing glasses, was already grabbing his pants. We're going! Angela found her voice. "Thomas, please, let me explain." "Shut up." I looked at the 2 men. 20 seconds now. They were moving fast, grabbing clothes, shoes, stumbling toward the door. The muscular one tried to meet my eyes. "Look, man, we're sorry." 15 seconds. "And if I ever see either of you within a mile of this house or my family again, I will end you. Do you understand me?" They nodded, terrified, and bolted. I heard them running down the stairs, the front door slamming. Now it was just me and Angela. She sat there, sheet clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Thomas, please, I can explain." "How long?" "What? How long?" She couldn't meet my eyes. How long have you been fucking other men in our bed while I was deployed?" It wasn't like that." I stepped closer. She flinched. "Answer the question, Angela. or I walk right now and you never see Emma again. That got her. 3 months. Since you left? 3 months. Half my deployment. How many men? Thomas, how many? I don't know. I don't keep count. The rage almost broke through. Almost. I kept it locked down. Guess. Maybe 10? 15? I laughed. Actually laughed. It sounded hollow even to me. 15 men. In our bed. While I was getting shot at. While our daughter slept down the hall. Emma was at my mother's tonight. That makes it better? That you planned this. That you shipped our daughter off so you could turn our home into a fucking brothel? Don't call it that. What would you call it, Angela? When you're bringing multiple men into our bed? What's the proper term? She was sobbing now. I was lonely. You were gone all the time. I had needs. I was serving our country, providing for this family, and you repay me by spreading your legs for every guy who gave you attention? That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I watched men die, Angela. Good men with families. And I kept going because I thought I had something worth fighting for back home. Turns out I was protecting a lie. Thomas, please, we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. This marriage is over. No! She lunged forward, grabbing my arm. I jerked away. Please, Thomas, I love you. I made a mistake. 15 men isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Multiple choices. I'll change. I'll do anything. Here's what you're going to do. Tomorrow morning, you're packing a bag and leaving this house. I'm filing for divorce, full custody of Emma. And if you fight me on any of it, I will make sure every person you know finds out exactly what kind of mother and wife you are. Her face crumpled. You can't take Emma from me. Watch me. I'm a decorated Marine with 6 combat deployments and a spotless record. You're a cheating wife who endangered our daughter by bringing strange men into our home. Who do you think a judge is going to favor? I'm her mother. You're a stranger who shares her DNA. A real mother wouldn't do what you did. I walked to the closet, grabbed my go bag, always kept it packed from military habit, and threw in some clothes. Angela kept begging, pleading, but I tuned her out. I'd heard enough. I'm sleeping at a hotel tonight. When I come back tomorrow, you'd better be gone. If you're not, I'm calling the cops and having you removed for adultery and endangerment. Adultery isn't a crime in California, but it matters in custody hearings. And I've got Ring doorbell footage of 2 men leaving our house at midnight. That'll play real well in court. I hadn't checked the doorbell camera yet, but the look on her face told me it had caught everything. I headed for the door. She called after me one last time. Thomas, please, I'm sorry. I stopped at the threshold. Didn't turn around. Sorry doesn't unfuck those men, Angela. Sorry doesn't undo 6 months of betrayal. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out. I checked into a Days Inn 2 miles from base. The clerk, a kid who couldn't have been more than 20, took one look at my face and didn't ask questions. Just slid the key across the counter. Room 214, generic beige walls, stiff sheets that smelled like industrial detergent. I dropped my go bag on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. Didn't sleep. Couldn't. My mind kept replaying it. Angela's face when she saw me, the scramble of those 2 men, the pathetic excuses. 15 men. 15. I'd been in firefights that felt less chaotic than what was happening inside my head. But this was different. In combat, you react. Training kicks in. You move, you shoot, you survive. This required strategy, cold, methodical planning. I pulled out my phone and started taking notes. Everything I could remember. Times, details. The doorbell footage I'd mentioned to Angela. I pulled it up, watched it 3 times, clear as day. 2 men leaving my house at 11:47 p.m., one of them stumbling as he tried to get his shoes on, the other practically running. By 0600, I was showered, dressed, and walking into the JAG office on base. Captain Diane Harrison was already at her desk. She looked up when I knocked, and I watched her expression shift from professional greeting to immediate concern. Thomas? What happened? She closed the door behind me. I told her everything. Kept my voice flat, factual. Deployment, early rotation, walking into my bedroom, finding Angela with 2 men, the confrontation, Angela's confession, 3 months, 15 men. Diane's jaw tightened with every sentence. When I finished, I pulled out my phone. I've got footage. I showed her the doorbell video, crystal clear. 2 men leaving at 11:47 p.m., disheveled, panicked. How old is your daughter? Diane asked. 4. And your wife brought men into the home while caring for her? She sent Emma to her grandmother's last night. But yeah, this has been going on for 3 months. Diane started taking notes, her pen moving fast across the legal pad. California is a no-fault divorce state, but this absolutely impacts custody, especially with you being active duty and her creating an unstable environment. We need to move fast. File today. Request emergency temporary custody based on endangerment. Can we do that? With this evidence? Absolutely. I'll also recommend we subpoena her phone records, social media. If she's been using dating apps or arranging these encounters electronically, we'll have a pattern of behavior. Do it. All of it. Thomas, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. She'll fight back. Her lawyer will try to paint you as a controlling military husband, absent father, whatever they can spin. Let them try. I've got the truth and the evidence. Diane smiled grimly. Then let's destroy her case before it starts. We spent 3 hours preparing paperwork. Diane was ruthless, thorough. Every detail mattered. Dates, times, witness statements I could provide from Emma's daycare about Angela's behavior. By noon, we'd filed for divorce, emergency custody, and restraining order modifications that would limit Angela's access to Emma pending a full hearing. I was signing the last form when Diane leaned back in her chair. There's something else we should consider, she said. Those 2 men from last night. If they're locals, if they knew she was married, we might have leverage. Alienation of affection isn't recognized in California, but we can make their lives very uncomfortable. I looked up. How? You said one of them mentioned she told them she was single. If we can prove they knew she was married, if we can prove a pattern of deliberately pursuing married women, we can go after them for harassment, stalking, a dozen other things. We make examples of them. Something shifted in my chest. Not relief. Not satisfaction yet. Just cold focus. I want names. I want to know everything about them. The doorbell footage is too dark for facial recognition. But if your wife's been communicating with them, her phone records will have everything. Numbers, names, addresses. Give me 48 hours. You've got 24. She grinned. Marines. Always demanding the impossible. That's why we win. 20 hours later, I was pacing my hotel room like a caged animal. Waiting has never been my strong suit. Not in combat, not in life. The phone sat on the desk, silent, mocking me. I'd tried to sleep, failed. Tried to eat, couldn't stomach it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Angela in that bed. Saw those 2 men. Felt that moment of betrayal punch through me all over again. My phone rang at 1400 hours. Diane, I've got everything. Her voice carried satisfaction. You're going to want to sit down for this. I sat on the edge of the bed. Talk to me. Angela's phone records are a goldmine. Dozens of messages, Thomas. Explicit photos, arrangements with multiple men, dating apps, social media DMs, text chains that go back months. She wasn't just cheating, she was running a full operation. My jaw clenched. The 2 from that night? Jeffrey Adamson and Dustin Robinson. I've got full backgrounds on both. Give me Jeffrey first. 28 years old, single, works as a personal trainer at a gym in Carlsbad, place called Iron Will Fitness. No criminal record, clean driving history. Rents an apartment near the beach. His Instagram is full of gym content, motivational posts, and, she paused, some pretty flirty exchanges with clients. Including married women. I filed that away. And Dustin? 32, accountant with a firm in Escondido. Married to Emily Robinson. 2 kids under 5. I stopped breathing for a second. He's married? 3 years. I pulled his social media. Facebook's covered in family photos. Him and his wife at the beach. Him coaching Little League. Posts about being a blessed husband and father. The whole devoted family man act. The irony hit me like a freight train. This guy, this hypocrite, was playing loving father on social media while he was in my bed with my wife. Send me his profile. My phone buzzed. I opened the link Diane sent. There he was, Dustin Robinson, smiling at the camera with his arm around a pretty blonde woman. Emily, I assumed. 2 little kids in front of them. Maybe 3 and 4 years old. The caption read, "Grateful for my beautiful family. Best dad job in the world." Posted 6 days ago. 6 days before he was naked with Angela. You still there? Diane asked. Yeah. My voice came out rough. I want to talk to his wife. Thomas, that's playing with fire. If you contact her directly, I'm not contacting her. You are, as my legal representative, informing her that her husband was involved in an incident relevant to my divorce case and that she may be called as a witness. Diane went quiet for a moment. I could practically hear her thinking through the legal angles. That's actually legally defensible, she said slowly, and it'll blow up his life. Good. You understand what you're doing here? This isn't just about your case anymore. You're going nuclear on this guy's entire existence. He made his choice when he touched my wife, in my bed, while I was deployed, while his own kids were probably at home wondering where Daddy was. Fair enough. I'll make the call this afternoon. You want to listen? Absolutely. 3 hours later, I was sitting in Diane's office. She had her phone on speaker, Emily Robinson's number already dialed. It rang twice. Hello? A woman's voice. Young, tired. Mrs. Emily Robinson? Yes, who's this? This is Captain Diane Harrison, JAG Corps. I'm calling regarding a legal matter involving your husband, Dustin Robinson. Pause. I heard dishes clinking in the background. What kind of legal matter? Without going into specifics over the phone, your husband was present at an incident involving adultery that's now part of a divorce and custody case. You may receive a subpoena to testify about his whereabouts on the night of November 14th. November 14th? The dish sounds stopped. That was last week. Dustin said he was at a work conference in L.A., said he'd be gone overnight. Diane glanced at me. I nodded. Ma'am, he was not at a work conference. He was at a residence in Oceanside with a married woman. My client has video evidence. The silence stretched out so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, send me everything. Her voice had changed. Gone was the confused wife. This was something else, something cold and determined. Diane looked at me. I nodded again. I'll have the relevant documents couriered to you within the hour. Mrs. Robinson, I'm sorry to be the bearer of this news. Don't be sorry, be thorough. The line went dead. Diane set her phone down and looked at me. She's going to crucify him. I thought about those Facebook photos, the Little League coaching, the family man persona, all of it a lie. He crucified himself the moment he touched my wife. The next morning, Diane called me at 800. Let's talk about Jeffrey Adamson. I was at the hotel, 3 cups of coffee deep, Emma's daycare schedule spread out on the bed. What have you got? Instagram account under his real name. Posts gym content, workout tips, motivational quotes, that kind of thing. But also some pretty flirty exchanges in the comments with clients, including married women. Define flirty. Heart emojis. Comments like, can't wait for our next private session. One woman wrote, my husband doesn't appreciate my body like you do. And Jeffrey replied with a winking emoji and, your secret's safe with me. My jaw tightened. That's a pattern. That's a liability. I checked. His gym has a strict ethics code. No romantic or sexual relationships with clients, period. Especially married clients. Who owns the gym? Guy named Ken Whitmore. Runs a clean operation. Family-friendly branding. Won't like this. I leaned back against the headboard. Draft a letter. Make it professional. Just the facts about Jeffrey's involvement with Angela, who was technically his client, and attach the communication evidence. Don't threaten legal action. Just frame it as information Ken needs to know about potential liability for his business. That's exactly what I was thinking. Let Ken draw his own conclusions. How fast can you get it to him? I can have it couriered this afternoon. Should land on his desk by close of business. Do it. 24 hours later, Diane called with an update. Jeffrey's been fired. I was at the commissary, picking up groceries. I actually smiled. That was fast. Ken posted a statement on the gym's website and social media. Says they're committed to maintaining professional boundaries and have a zero-tolerance policy for misconduct. Doesn't name Jeffrey, but everyone will figure it out. Jeffrey know it was me? Oh, he knows. He's been trying to call you 6 times in the last hour. I checked my phone. 6 blocked calls from an unknown number. I'm blocking him. Good. If he keeps trying, we can add harassment to the list. He kept trying. For 2 days, unknown numbers kept lighting up my phone. I blocked every single one. Then he showed up at my house. I was pulling into the driveway around 1900 when I spotted him standing on the sidewalk across the street. Same muscular build from that night. He started walking toward me the second I got out of the truck. Hey man, we need to talk. I pulled out my phone. You've got 10 seconds to turn around before I call base security. Come on, this is bullshit. You got me fired over nothing. Nothing? You were in my bed. With my wife. While I was deployed. She told me she was single. I didn't know. 5 seconds. You can't just ruin my life because you're pissed. I dialed. Yeah, this is Staff Sergeant Jensen, 2847 Oceanside Boulevard. I've got a man harassing me on my property. Name's Jeffrey Adamson. Need an escort and a trespass warning. Jeffrey's face went white. Are you serious? Base security arrived in 4 minutes. 2 MPs in a patrol car. They took statements, checked Jeffrey's ID, and gave him an official warning that if he came within 100 yards of my property again, he'd face harassment charges. He left. Didn't say another word. 1 down. But Angela wasn't going quietly either. 3 days after I filed for divorce and emergency custody, she hired a lawyer. Vince Sanders. I'd heard of him. Sleazy divorce attorney who specialized in scorched earth tactics. Diane called me the day Sanders filed his response. He's going hard. Multiple motions. Claims you're an absentee father. Says your military service makes you unfit for custody because you're frequently deployed and emotionally unavailable. Says you're harassing Angela's friends. My hands clenched around the phone. Angela's friends? That's how he's framing Jeffrey and Dustin. Just friends who were wrongly targeted by a controlling, vengeful husband. Can he actually argue that with a straight face? He can argue anything. Doesn't mean it'll work. What do we need? Everything we've already got, plus more. Your performance reviews, letters of commendation, testimonials from your command about your dedication as a father and Marine, character witnesses. And I want to hit Angela's fitness hard. I need testimony from Emma's daycare about Angela's behavior. I thought about the daycare director, Mrs. Patricia Holloway. She'd mentioned a few times that Angela seemed distracted during pickup. I'll reach out. Do it today. Sanders is trying to bury us in motions. We bury him in evidence. Over the next week, Diane assembled an arsenal. My performance reviews going back 6 years. Letters from my commanding officer, from fellow Marines who'd served with me, from neighbors who'd seen me with Emma. Testimony from Mrs. Holloway at the daycare about Angela dropping Emma off late multiple times, sometimes looking hungover, once smelling like alcohol at 9 a.m., and the phone records, the explicit messages, the pattern of serial affairs. Sanders filed more motions. Diane tore them apart one by one. The emergency custody hearing was set for 2 weeks out. I was ready for war. 2 days after Jeffrey got fired, Diane called with updates. Emily Robinson filed for divorce this morning. Full custody. Dustin didn't even fight it. I leaned back in my chair at the hotel. That was fast. She's thorough. Posted about it on a local parents' Facebook group. Didn't name Dustin directly, but made it very clear her marriage ended because of infidelity. Every parent in their Escondido social circle knows. Good. Gets better. His firm let him go yesterday. Bringing the firm into disrepute was the official reason. Emily made sure his partners knew what happened. I felt a flicker of satisfaction. Where's he living now? Studio apartment in El Cajon. Working retail at Target to make ends child support payments. From accountant to retail worker. From family man to studio apartment. The fall was spectacular. And Jeffrey? Diane's voice carried a hint of amusement. Can't find work anywhere in fitness. Turns out getting fired for sleeping with married clients is a career killer in that industry. Word spreads fast. 3 gyms turned him down this week alone. Where is he? Moved back to Arizona 2 days ago. Living with his parents in Tucson. He's 28 years old, sleeping in his childhood bedroom. No prospects. I thought about that. 28. Should have been building a career, a life. Instead, he threw it away for a married woman he barely knew. They made their choices, I said. They sure did. The 2 weeks until the custody hearing crawled by. I spent every minute either working with Diane or with Emma. Angela had temporary supervised visitation, 2 hours on Saturdays at a family center. I dropped Emma off, watched through the one-way glass as Angela tried to act like everything was normal. Emma was confused. Kept asking why Mommy lives somewhere else now, why we couldn't all be together. I told her the truth, age-appropriate. Mommy and Daddy aren't going to be married anymore, sweetie, but we both love you very much. She didn't cry, just nodded like she'd already figured it out. Kids always know more than we think they do. The hearing finally arrived, December 2nd, the family courthouse in Vista, 40 minutes north of Oceanside. I wore my dress blues. Diane said it wasn't required, but I wanted the judge to see exactly who I was. Marine, father, someone who'd served his country while his wife destroyed his family. Angela showed up in a conservative dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Sanders's idea, probably. Make her look like a wholesome mom. Too little, too late. Judge Albert McKinley entered the courtroom. 60s, gray hair, stern face. Former Marine. Diane had done her research. He looked at my uniform and gave a slight nod. Sanders went first, spent 20 minutes trying to paint me as a violent, absent father. Claimed I was emotionally unavailable due to combat trauma. Claimed I neglected Emma because of my deployment schedule. Claimed the divorce was about control, not Emma's welfare. Diane didn't object once, just took notes. Then it was her turn. She stood, opened her briefcase, and buried Sanders alive. Performance reviews, letters of commendation, testimonials from my commanding officer, from fellow Marines, from neighbors who'd watched me raise Emma between deployments. Character witnesses who spoke about how I'd coached Emma's soccer team, attended every daycare event, called her every single night from Kandahar. Then came the daycare testimony. Mrs. Holloway described Angela dropping Emma off late repeatedly, arriving hungover, once smelling like alcohol at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Sanders tried to object. McKinley shut him down. I'll hear the testimony. Then Diane produced the phone records, the explicit messages, the pattern of 15 different men over 3 months, the doorbell footage of Jeffrey and Dustin fleeing the house. Sanders tried to argue it was irrelevant. McKinley looked at him like he'd just suggested the sun rose in the west. Mr. Sanders, McKinley said, his voice carrying that unmistakable Marine edge, your client engaged in serial adultery, brought strangers into the family home, and demonstrated a pattern of deception and recklessness. Staff Sergeant Jensen has an exemplary record both in service and as a parent. Unless you have actual evidence of unfitness, this hearing is over. Sanders sputtered something about mother's rights. McKinley cut him off. Custody is not about rights, counselor. It's about the child's best interests, and I see no evidence that Emma's best interests are served by living with a mother who engages in the behavior documented here. He looked down at his notes, then back up at me. Full physical custody is awarded to Staff Sergeant Thomas Jensen. Mrs. Jensen will have supervised visitation twice monthly, pending completion of court-mandated counseling and a psychiatric evaluation. The gavel came down. Angela screamed. I mean screamed. Called me every name you can imagine. Lunged toward me until a bailiff grabbed her arm. You bastard! You son of a bitch! You can't take my daughter. Ma'am, the bailiff said. You need to calm down. I'll kill you, Thomas. I swear to God. Security swarmed. 2 more bailiffs, then courthouse security. They practically dragged her out, still screaming, still hurling insults. I stood there, watching, feeling absolutely nothing except cold, perfect satisfaction. Diane touched my arm. Congratulations, I nodded. When can I get Emma? Today. I'll file the order within the hour. 2 days after the hearing, I was in Diane's office finalizing Emma's pickup arrangements, the supervised visitation schedule, the custody transfer details. I actually felt good, like maybe the worst was over. Diane's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned, then opened her email. Her face went white. What? I asked. She didn't answer, just kept reading. Her jaw tightened. Diane. What is it? She turned her monitor toward me. Sanders filed a new motion an hour ago. I leaned forward, reading the screen. The words hit me like an IED blast. Motion for emergency paternity testing. Petitioner Angela Jensen claims that minor child Emma Jensen is not the biological daughter of respondent Thomas Jensen. Petitioner asserts she was involved with multiple partners during the time of conception, and that respondent trapped petitioner in a marriage based on fraudulent paternity claims. My hands started shaking. Actually, shaking. She's claiming Emma isn't mine. Thomas, she's saying I'm not Emma's father. The floor dropped out from under me. Everything I'd fought for, everything I'd won, it all hinged on 4 years of being Emma's dad. If that wasn't real, if the DNA didn't match, Thomas, look at me. Diane's voice cut through the spiral. This is a desperation move. She's trying to hurt you because she lost. That's all this is. What if she's telling the truth? Then we deal with it. But listen to me carefully. Diane leaned forward, her tone absolutely steady. Even if Emma is not biologically your child, you have been her father for 4 years. You're on the birth certificate. You've raised her. California law recognizes that bond. No judge is going to strip your parental rights based on DNA alone after 4 years of established parenthood. I knew she was right. Legally, she was absolutely right. But it didn't stop the cold terror crawling up my spine. Everything changes if she's not mine, I said. Not as much as you think. McKinley awarded you custody based on fitness and evidence. That doesn't disappear because of a paternity test. But it matters. You know it matters. Diane didn't argue, because she knew I was right too. We need to know the truth, she said quietly. One way or another. I stared at the motion on her screen. Angela's lies, printed in official court language, trying to make me doubt the one pure thing in my life. Set up the test, I said. The swab took 30 seconds. A nurse at the base clinic rubbed the inside of my cheek, sealed it in a tube, sent it to the lab. Emma's sample had already been collected during the supervised visit 2 days before. Sanders had arranged it without warning me, the bastard. Now we waited. 7 days for results. 7 days that became the longest week of my entire life. Worse than Kandahar. Worse than any firefight. Because in combat, I could fight back. I could take action. This? I could only wait. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Just kept playing worst-case scenarios on repeat. What if Emma wasn't mine? What if Angela had been telling the truth all along? What if I'd spent 4 years loving a daughter who… No. Stop. She was mine. Biology or not, she was mine. But I needed to know. Day 7. Diane called at 2 p.m. Come to my office. Now! I drove too fast. Didn't care. Got to JAG in 12 minutes. Diane was waiting in her office, door closed. An envelope sat on her desk. I stared at it. Is that… Sit down, Thomas. Just tell me. Sit down. I sat. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Diane opened the envelope, pulled out a single sheet of paper, read it. Then she looked up at me and smiled. 99.97% match. Emma is your daughter. The relief hit me like a tidal wave. I actually started crying. Right there in Diane's office, tears streaming down my face, unable to stop them. Relief, rage, love. Everything I'd been holding back for a week just shattered. She lied, I choked out. She tried to make me doubt my own daughter. Diane handed me the report. I stared at the numbers through blurred vision. 99.97%. Probability of paternity. Confirmed. Angela filed a false motion in bad faith, Diane said. Her voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Pure, cold fury. She weaponized your relationship with Emma to hurt you. Judge McKinley is going to be absolutely furious. I wiped my eyes. The tears kept coming, but I didn't care anymore. Emma was mine. She was mine. What happens now? I asked. Diane's smile turned sharp. Now? Now we make Angela regret she ever tried this. The hearing was set for 9 a.m. sharp. Diane and I walked into Judge McKinley's courtroom together, her heels clicking against the polished floor like gunshots. Angela and Sanders were already there. Angela looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing a wrinkled blouse. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. Judge McKinley entered, and everyone stood. He sat down hard, his expression thunderous as he opened the case file. The silence stretched out. McKinley read, flipped pages, read some more. Then he looked up at Sanders. Counselor, explain to me why you filed a paternity challenge without any evidence to support it. Sanders stood, cleared his throat. Your Honor, my client had legitimate concerns about… Legitimate concerns. McKinley's voice could have cut steel. Your client claimed under oath that Staff Sergeant Jensen might not be the biological father of Emma Jensen. The paternity test results, which are now part of this record, show a 99.97% match. So I'll ask again, what evidence did you have before filing this motion? My client's testimony. Your client's testimony was a lie. A malicious, calculated lie designed to hurt a decorated Marine and manipulate these proceedings. McKinley turned to Angela. Mrs. Jensen, stand up. Angela stood. She was trembling. You have demonstrated, McKinley said slowly, a stunning lack of character throughout these proceedings. Serial adultery, bringing strangers into the family home, neglecting your daughter, filing false motions. And now this, trying to make a father doubt his own child out of pure spite. Your Honor, I'm not finished. McKinley's tone could have frozen fire. I have presided over family court for 12 years. I have seen some ugly cases. But what you attempted here? This was beyond ugly. This was cruel. Angela started crying. I felt nothing watching her tears. I'm reducing your visitation to once monthly, McKinley continued. Supervised. And before you can even request a modification, you will complete a full psychiatric evaluation, a real one, by a court-appointed psychiatrist, not some friend who'll rubber stamp whatever you want. Sanders tried again. Your Honor, given that Mrs. Jensen is the biological mother, being a biological parent is not the same as being fit to parent. Mrs. Jensen has proven repeatedly that she cannot be trusted with her daughter's welfare. This court's primary concern is Emma's best interests, not her mother's feelings. Angela sobbed louder. McKinley just stared at her. You're fortunate I'm not holding you in contempt, he said. But if you ever file another bad faith motion in my courtroom, I will. Do you understand me? Angela nodded, still crying. Get out of my courtroom. Sanders started gathering papers, but McKinley wasn't done. Not you, counselor. You and I are going to have a conversation about Rule 11 sanctions. I watched Sanders's face go white. Then Diane and I walked out, leaving Angela sobbing in the hallway. 6 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. I got everything. The house, every square foot of the 3-bedroom where I'd planned to raise Emma, now legally mine alone. Full custody. Emma was mine. Supervised visitation for Angela once a month, pending that psych eval. And the twist that made me actually smile in court. Angela was ordered to pay child support. It was ironic, darkly, perfectly ironic. Angela had barely worked during our marriage, stayed home while I deployed, while I provided, while I kept us afloat. Now, she had to get a job at a call center just to make the minimum payments. $240 a month. Not much, but it wasn't about the money. It was about watching her scrape by, paycheck to paycheck, knowing every dollar she sent was a reminder of what she'd destroyed. That evening, I sat in the living room. My living room. The house was quiet. Emma was upstairs, asleep, safe. The legal battle was over. Angela lost everything. Dustin and Emily were divorced, his life in ruins. Jeffrey was blacklisted, living with his parents. I should have felt satisfied, and I did. But Diane's words from weeks ago kept echoing in my mind. We make examples of them. The legal system had punished Angela, but there was more I could do, more that needed to be done. Because people like Angela, they moved on, started fresh, found new communities where nobody knew what they'd done. That couldn't happen. Jeffrey and Dustin, same thing. They'd rebuild somewhere else, pretend the past didn't exist. Unless I made sure the past followed them everywhere. I pulled out my laptop, opened a new folder, started compiling everything. The doorbell footage, the phone records, the court filings, the custody decision, every piece of documented evidence. Public record, all of it legal. And I was going to make damn sure the world knew exactly who Angela Jensen really was. I spent the entire weekend at my computer. Emma was with Diane's sister. She'd offered to babysit, give me some time to decompress. I told her I appreciated it, didn't mention what I was really doing. I opened a new folder, labeled it Public Record, started compiling. The doorbell footage, Jeffrey and Dustin fleeing my house at 11:47 p.m., disheveled and panicked. Angela's phone records, dozens of explicit messages, photos, arrangements with 15 different men over 3 months. Court testimony, every word from the custody hearings, Angela's admissions, the daycare reports about her showing up late and hungover, the custody decision, Judge McKinley's scathing assessment of Angela's character, the psychiatric evaluation requirement, the supervised visitation order, the paternity motion, Angela's desperate lie, the test results proving Emma was mine, McKinley's contempt ruling, all of it legal, all of it public record. I didn't editorialize, didn't add commentary, just presented the facts in clean, organized packages with copies of the actual court documents. Then I started compiling the list. Angela's parents, Richard and Donna Cartwright, living in Temecula. They'd always been cold to me, thought Angela married beneath her when she chose a Marine. Angela's siblings, her older sister Monica, younger brother Patrick. Both had families. Both had posted those happy family comments on our social media for years. Angela's friends, the book club crowd, the yoga studio group, the women she'd known since high school, her former co-workers from the insurance office where she'd worked before Emma was born. Everyone who'd ever smiled in our wedding photos, who'd commented beautiful family on our Christmas cards, who'd pretended to care. I sent the packages. No cover letter, no explanation, just the evidence. Then I waited. The fallout started within 48 hours. Angela called me, screaming, "What did you do? What the fuck did you do?" I kept my voice flat. I sent public records to people who had a right to know what kind of person you are. My mother won't speak to me. My father, he said I'm a disgrace. You destroyed my family. You destroyed our family the moment you brought the first man into our bed. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. You bastard! I hung up. Diane called an hour later. "Thomas, Angela's lawyer is threatening harassment charges." "For sending public court records? Good luck with that." That's what I told him. Sanders knows he's got nothing. But she's spiraling. Not my problem anymore. Angela's mother called her a disgrace. I heard that from Monica, who sent me a short email saying she was sorry she hadn't seen Angela's true nature sooner. Angela's father refused to speak to her, cut her off financially. Apparently, he'd been helping with her rent. Her friends abandoned her. The book club, the yoga studio, everyone. Oceanside is a military town. People respect Marines. They don't respect cheaters who betray deployed service members. Angela became a pariah overnight. She tried to move, packed up her studio apartment, headed to Sacramento where she had a cousin. But I'd been thorough. I'd created a simple website, just her name, links to the public court records, the custody decision, everything searchable and indexed. Any Google search of Angela Jensen brought it up. First result, she couldn't escape it. Her cousin in Sacramento found out within a week, asked Angela to leave. Angela ended up in Bakersfield, working 2 jobs, living in a 1-bedroom she could barely afford. She sent emails sometimes, usually drunk, rambling about how I'd ruined her life. I archived them, never responded. 6 months passed. Jeffrey was still in Arizona. Living with his parents at 28, working at some big box store, stocking shelves and avoiding eye contact with customers. The fitness industry had completely blacklisted him. I'd made sure of that, sent the evidence to every major gym chain's corporate HR, every certification board. His Instagram was deleted, his career was dead. Dustin had it worse. Emily took everything, the house, the kids, every asset. Dustin was living in a studio in El Cajon, delivering food just to make child support payments. I heard he'd applied to 3 different accounting firms. All of them rejected him after background checks. His LinkedIn was a ghost town. One afternoon, I took Emma to the VA hospital for a routine checkup. She'd had a cough that wouldn't quit. Nothing serious, but I wanted to be sure. The nurse who called us back was someone I hadn't seen before. "Carla," her badge said. "Carla Morrison." She smiled at Emma. "Hey there, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" Emma coughed. "My throat hurts." "Let's take a look, okay?" Carla was patient, kind. She asked Emma about her favorite color, her favorite cartoon, kept her distracted while checking her vitals. Then Carla looked at me. "Dad, any allergies I should know about?" "No, nothing." "And Mom's not here today?" I hesitated. Emma was coloring on the exam table paper, not paying attention. "Divorced," I said quietly. "It's just us." Carla's expression didn't change. No judgment, no pity, just a small nod. "Okay, I'll make a note." She finished the exam. Emma had a minor throat infection, needed antibiotics, and walked us to the checkout desk. "She's a sweet kid," Carla said. "She's everything." Carla smiled. It was genuine, warm. "I can tell." She handed me the prescription slip. Our fingers brushed. "Take care, Thomas." I realized I hadn't introduced myself. She'd read my name off the chart. "You too." I walked out with Emma, her hand in mine, and for the first time in months, I felt something other than cold satisfaction. I felt hope. 1 year after meeting Carla, I stood in the same courthouse where I'd fought for Emma's future, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. This time, I was getting married. Carla stood beside me in a simple cream-colored dress, her hand warm in mine. Emma stood between us, wearing a little yellow sundress, beaming so wide I thought her face might split. And Judge Albert McKinley, the same judge who'd awarded me custody, who'd eviscerated Angela's lies, stood at the front, officiating. "Do you, Thomas Jensen, take Carla Morrison to be your lawfully wedded wife?" I looked at Carla, at this woman who'd spent the past year proving every single day that she was nothing like Angela, who never pushed, never demanded, just showed up. For me, for Emma. "I do," McKinley smiled, turned to Carla. "And do you, Carla Morrison, take Thomas Jensen to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do." McKinley's eyes met mine. He winked. Actually, winked. Then, by the power vested in me by the state of California, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Thomas, you may kiss your bride. I kissed her. Emma giggled and clapped. And I thought about the fact that a year ago, I'd been standing in a hotel room, my entire world destroyed. Now I was standing here, rebuilding something better than I'd ever had. Carla and I had taken it slow. Real slow. That first meeting at the VA hospital, I'd gone home and couldn't stop thinking about her smile. But I had Emma to think about. I had my own healing to do. I ran into Carla again 2 weeks later. Same hospital, different appointment. She remembered Emma's name, asked how the throat infection was. We talked for 5 minutes. Just small talk, but it felt easy. I asked if she wanted to grab coffee sometime. She said yes. Our first date was at a diner near the base. I told her about the divorce. Not everything, just the basics. That Angela had cheated, that I had full custody, that it had been ugly. Carla listened, didn't judge, didn't pry. Then she told me about her own past, a bad relationship in her 20s, a guy who'd lied about everything. She'd walked away, rebuilt her life, focused on nursing. I get it, she said. Trust is hard to rebuild. Yeah. So we take it slow, no pressure, just see where it goes. That was 6 months of coffee dates, of introducing her to Emma slowly, carefully, of watching how Carla never tried to be Emma's mother. She just played with her, listened to her, treated her like a person. Emma liked her, really liked her. 3 months after that, I asked Carla to move in. Another 3 months I proposed. And here we were. Emma had thrived this past year. Kindergarten was going great. She had friends, she was laughing again, she wasn't asking about Angela anymore. The supervised visits with Angela had gotten awkward. Emma would come back confused. Daddy, why does Mommy live in a tiny apartment? Why does she look sad all the time? I didn't know how to answer that. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that her mother destroyed her own life? Eventually, Angela stopped showing up, claimed it was too painful. I didn't push it. Emma deserved better than a mother who only appeared when it was convenient. And then, one morning, Emma looked up at Carla and said, "Can I call you Mom?" Carla's eyes filled with tears. "If you want to, sweetheart." I want to. I didn't force it. Didn't discourage it. It just happened. The way real families are supposed to happen. I knew where everyone ended up. Angela was working 2 jobs, the call center during the day, some retail gig at night, living in a studio apartment in Bakersfield, barely scraping by. Her social life was non-existent. Her family wouldn't speak to her. I'd seen a photo someone posted online, ran into her at a grocery store. She'd aged 10 years in 2. Her face was hollow, bitter. Jeffrey was still in Arizona, 30 years old, living in his childhood bedroom. The fitness career he'd loved? Dead. No prospects. No future. Dustin had lost everything that mattered. Emily, the kids, his accounting career. Last I heard, he was still delivering food, living in that studio in El Cajon, paying child support he could barely afford. Angela still sent emails sometimes, drunk, rambling, about how I'd ruined her life. I archived them, never responded. There was nothing left to say. I woke up every morning next to Carla, a woman who respected me, loved me, chose me knowing exactly who I was and what I'd been through. I had Emma, happy, healthy, safe. I had a career I was proud of, a future that belonged to me. You want to know something? The best revenge isn't just getting even. It's building something so damn good, so strong, that your enemies can only watch from the outside and realize what they threw away. Carla, Emma, and I, we're living proof of that. And we've never been happier. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.